Okay, so today, this is Debbie Arnold with Dining with Debbie. Today we're going to be making some really light and crispy salmon croquettes. I told someone that I would do this, and they were asking about them. And so this is our favorite way to eat canned salmon, I think. What I've done is I have a probably 14 ounce can of canned salmon. And I'm going to drain that off, saving the juice. Okay, you're going to need that. And it'll probably be somewhere around a fourth to a half a cup. Just varies, I guess, from brand to brand. Anyway, I'm going to take that out. And you know, canned salmon has bones in it. You could literally eat those bones. Well, you ever have this? Yes. Ever have trouble with a pan like that? Anyway, take that out and then get rid of the bones. You're going to discard those, but you could eat them. And if you get one in your salmon, it's no big deal. Okay, so I'm going to put that salmon in the bowl and flake it up, getting rid of all the bones there. And just kind of flake it up. This is nice and moist. Can you see that? Okay, then I'm going to wash my hands real quick. I'm not partial to any particular brand of canned salmon. If you are, then go for whatever you want. I didn't have one to recommend for you. What I'm doing now is starting to heat up my oil that I'm going to cook these salmon croquettes in. And I use this little induction cooktop a lot of times when I'm on THB because they don't really have a kitchen. So anyway, we pretend that there's a kitchen. All right, so I've flaked up my salmon. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in one whole egg and kind of beat that up a little bit on the side and then mix it into my salmon. Don't want to, don't just mash your salmon to death. Just kind of leave it light and fluffy there. All right, the next thing I'm going to add in is a half a cup of Wondra. You could use flour, all-purpose flour if you want to. I just happen to like Wondra because of the way that it blends in and just makes it really smooth. I use this a lot of times when I'm doing a slurry if I'm wanting to thicken up something. So I always have it on hand. That's Wondra. And then on top of my flour, I've added a half a teaspoon of kosher salt and a half a teaspoon of cracked black pepper and a quarter of a teaspoon of chipotle, ground chipotle pepper. This adds a little bit of kick to it. If you don't want that, don't add it in. So I'm going to sprinkle that over my salmon and add that in. Okay. And then I'm going to get my green onions out. I forgot to get those out earlier, sorry. But it will give me a chance to show you how I store green onions. This is the way I store the green onions, and when I bring them home from the grocery store, I wash them, and then I wrap them in this cleaning wrap. I love this stuff. It was made for me, I think. And I don't bother to trim them or anything at that point in time. They will keep so much longer if you do this. I've tried any number of ways to do it. And then I will take a pair of cooking scissors, or lots of times I just use my regular kitchen scissors. I can keep a bunch of scissors on hand in the kitchen. We'll cut that green onion up into there. You're going to end up probably wanting about a half a cup. So this probably will be plenty. If you don't like green onion, use something milder like a chive, or a garlic chive, that would work, or even a scallion if you want to cut that up in there. Or, I don't know, I just use something really mild, I think. But most of the time, green onions don't have much kick to them at all. But if you have kids who just won't eat them, then leave it out, use a little onion powder. That'll give you some taste without the texture of the onion. And usually it's texture, that the kids are having problems with. So I'm cutting that up, and this is so much easier than trying to cut it up with a knife, y'all. Do you ever do that? You ever use scissors like that? I use scissors a lot in the kitchen. Okay. All right, so that's probably close to a half a cup, and certainly all that I'm going to put in there anyway. All right. So we've got in here, we've got our Wondra, we've got salt, we've got pepper, we've got that chipotle pepper, we've got an egg, and we've got a can of salmon. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a splash of Worcestershire sauce. And you can do this to taste. I just do a couple of big splashes. That's usually plenty. But sometimes we will use the Worcestershire sauce after the salmon croquettes are cooked, and just when we're eating them for dinner. After that, we're going to use a tablespoon of lemon juice. And you may or may not know about Minute Maid lemon juice. They're not paying me. This is not an ad. But it's 100% lemon juice, and you find it in the frozen section at the grocery store. Usually it's with the juices. So look for it. It comes in just a box. It doesn't come like this, in a box. And I love it. I love to have it on hand. I keep boxes of it in the freezer, so I always have that lemon flavor. And it tastes like real lemon because it is real lemon juice, okay? It's not that other stuff, you know, that comes in the little green thing that looks like a lemon, or a green lemon. Anyway, so we have a tablespoon of lemon juice. And then after that, we're going to take our leftover juice from the salmon, and that is 1/4 of a cup, believe it or not. And we're going to add in to it a heaping teaspoon of, where is it? My baking powder. Thought I had it out, sorry. Now, you know that a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. And I also know that this little indentation in my hand right here is a teaspoon. But you don't want to do this until right at the end. Okay, I got plenty there. I'm going to add this baking powder to the salmon juice that's left over, whisk it up, and it's going to foam up. Then I'm going to add it into my salmon mixture. You don't want to do that until right before you get ready to cook them, because that is the secret to making these salmon croquettes really nice and fluffy. This recipe came from the Benton Junior Auxiliary Cookbook Calico covers that we published. I was the president the 2 years that it took to get that thing published. And the recipe came from one of our life members, Jeanette Alsabrook. So it's her recipe, but I've used it for years and years and years, and everybody loves it. Okay, so we've got our salmon ready to go. Our oil's all heating up, and it's going to be heated up to about 400 degrees. And you'll have to test your fryer or whatever that you're using to fry it with. You do need an oil to a depth of probably 2 to 3 inches. I don't have a deep fryer any longer, so I just use my little pot here. All right, so I'm going to add in the baking powder to the salmon juice. I'm going to whisk that up, and it starts foaming a little bit, and then I'm going to add it in to my salmon juice, my salmon mixture, sorry. Add all that in and stir it. Now, at this point, if it seems way too wet for you and you don't want to beat it to death either, then add in a little bit more of that One Drop. I've even used Italian breadcrumbs at times, and that's a kind of a nice flavor addition. All right, so I thought it needed a little bit more. You could make this up to the point of adding the baking powder and salmon juice. You can make that up ahead of time, but I would not add the salmon juice and the baking powder until I got ready to cook, okay? All right, and I'm going to use an ice cream scoop. I'm going to do a little test to see if my oil is ready, and if it's not, then I'm going to heat it up a little bit longer. So I'm going to just do a little bitty scoop like that and check and see. If the oil is ready, excuse me, if the oil is ready, it's going to start cooking right away, and it will soon float to the top. And typically by the time it floats to the top, that means it's done. Okay, I want to jump back on here and show you the finished product. I did have to turn my heat up on this. Right now it's set on 450, which is probably a little high. It's probably the induction top, but you're just going to have to try one and see where your temperature needs to be. Generally speaking, in my deep fryer, 400 degrees would have been fine. Anyway, this is how they look like. They're nice and crispy. You have all those little crispies on the outside of them. And when you open them up, they're nice and done on the inside. And I just know your family's going to enjoy them. nice and steamy here, really ready to pop in your mouth. And as I said, don't make them too large because you want them to cook thoroughly on the inside. And you want them nicely browned. And I hope you enjoy them. Hope you have a blessed day. I hope you have a really good day. And go eat some salmon. It's good for you. Thanks so much for being here. God bless. And I'll see you soon.